Jay here for Stretford, Paddock. Nottingham Forest 0, Manchester United 2. Joe Smith joins me for a live review. Joe, a great day at the office for Manchester United. I mean, it's very rarely me and you do a review and say this, but I don't feel like there's anything to complain about. I think that was a proper, professional, effective, entertaining performance from Manchester United. And I think basically everyone turned up and we were just too good for Nottingham Forest.
Yeah, and when you consider the fact as well that if Forest had have won today, they wouldn't have been out of the relegation zone, but they would have only been... they would have been out of the relegation zone.
Okay.
So this is a big game for them. They're not just, Fulham where they're probably not going to get this, but they can't go down. Nottingham Forest are fighting for their lives, basically. And United have got, you could argue, 4 of our sort of best 6 players out in Rashford, Varane, Martinez, and... who else is missing? Sorry. Sure, pardon me, yeah. Those 4 players who, if you put, Casemiro and Bruno in there, are probably United's best players.
Yeah.
They aren't available. Forest are fighting for their lives. Forest have got 8 games left this season, or had 8 games left this season. For us to go there, not concede a single shot on target, create 3.49 expected goals. I know that's a bit of a, whatever you want to take it with stat, but that is similar to what Liverpool made against United when they beat us 7-0. Like, that was a really good performance from United and one that could have been really tricky. And the biggest thing, and I'm sure we'll get to it, is seeing big performances from certain players who have had a lot of stick or a lot of pressure put on them over the last few weeks. Antony and Sancho in particular. But Antony today, other than Bruno, I thought Antony was United's best player. I thought he was fantastic. Yeah,
no, I completely agree with all of that, to be honest with you. For Bruno Fernandes, we know what he's capable of. We know how good he is on this channel, especially. Yeah. We've always praised him. We're very grateful to have him. I think he's the best signing we've made post Sir Alex Ferguson. Yeah. And you saw how he can just dominate a game today. He was everywhere. He was creating things. He was getting hold of the ball. Some of his passing was fantastic. He was unlucky not to get on the score sheet. His engine, which he's always got, was non-stop as well. And then the other players you mentioned there, we've seen it sort of recently where certain players have been coming in for a bit of stick. Jadon Sancho, I think the honeymoon period of Sancho post-break, where he went away and everyone sort of felt a little bit sorry for him and was backing him, ended. And now people looking at him going, okay, you've come back from this break for whatever reason, you've had some good games, but you've been a bit inconsistent. We need to see you kicking on now. And he did that today. Antony, who I think gets probably more stick from non-United fans than United fans. I think United fans appreciate what Andy brings to the team, even if he's not always getting on the score sheet. He's been a sort of a figure of fun for some fans where they go, well, you spent 100 million on Antony, he's not scored in the Premier League since October or whatever it is. Or, I can't remember the exact date. But we saw him today doing what he was brought into the team to do, running at defenders, creating chances, getting a goal. Yeah. As you pointed out, his run for the second goal in particular was just phenomenal. So, yeah, it was a joy to watch United. It was me, you and Macca on the watch along. I enjoyed it, just sort of watching there, feeling like we had control of the game. Yes, Forest had a few set-piece chances, and you'd expect a team at home battling relegation to cause you some issues. Yeah. But David De Gea didn't really have any saves to make.
He didn't have a save.
Oh, did he not? Sorry, he said that. Sorry, he did say that. He didn't. And I think then you look at it and you go, okay, who didn't play that well today? Who wasn't really at the races? And I think everyone was. Dalot got his goal. Wan-Bissaka played well. The centre-back pairing did the fine job.
I think Maguire started a little bit shaky, but as the game went on, I thought he progressed into the game. Second half, didn't really put a foot wrong.
And you saw him in the second half playing further up the pitch. There was times when he was cutting out, intercepting things in like the centre circle. So yeah, he definitely kicked on. And then the front three we've already mentioned. Martial, great to see him back in the team, and you can see what he brings to that forward line. Yeah. So to go to Forest, like you say, missing all the players, big players as well, let's not forget, especially when you think of how important Martinez and Mac as well, all of them, the ones you mentioned, to be fair, have been for us. And to put in that performance where the game was never really in doubt. No. And also, I know I keep saying that word, but sometimes we get a result away from home and you think, oh, you know what, you're biting your nails through that one. Yeah. Had to grind it out. It wasn't great to watch. That, for me, was proper entertaining Manchester United. It felt like that could have been a Sir Alex Ferguson team because we just kept getting at him, going past him, Jadon Sancho skipping past his man, Antony doing the same, cutting inside, Martial turning. It was just...
22 shots today.
22 shots. Yeah. Eriksen and Bruno just unlocking that defence with the passes as well. It was just great to watch. And to be fair, I think it's been in the post a little bit, that performance. Because I think we've had games where we've not turned up and it was disappointing against Sevilla and that. But this team, when it's on it, can do things like that. And I think you've just been waiting, haven't you? Antony, one day soon, is going to really sort of show what he's about. Jadon Sancho, we obviously know what he's about. We just need to see it consistently. So to see that performance today, it was just great. And it's nice to be sat here having seen Spurs lose at home to Bournemouth. Yeah. That's a horrendous. Horrendous.
Well, like if you think about what we're talking about with Forest and the sort of the danger that they posed, Bournemouth are in the same position.
Yeah.
Except they were playing at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, so it should be even less likely.
Yeah.
Like that is exactly the type of dangerous game we're talking about here, and you would never have thought that when watching that game today.
And also, there's the nature of the loss. If you lose 3-2 and you're 3-0 out outside, you get 2 goals back, that's bad enough. But to be losing, I think they were losing 2-1, got it back to 2-2 with 5 minutes to go, and then to lose 3-2 is so deflating and frustrating if you're a Spurs fan. Mm-hmm. Newcastle at Villa, I watched the Newcastle-Villa game. Villa, who've obviously beaten us at Villa Park, a very good team under Unai Emery. I think they've won more games than anyone, other than maybe Arsenal post-World Cup in the Premier League.
Yeah.
But they dominated that game pretty much after the half-hour mark. They were not even after the half-hour mark, to be fair. They had a chance in the first minute. They were good value. So you can see our rivals sort of struggling a little bit, where we seem to have kicked on. We've got Eric Ten Hag. I can see him on my screen. We'll get some quotes from him post-match. He's obviously going to be buzzing.
Can we go through the goals?
Yeah, let's do that.
First goal, thrown on the right-hand side, or left-hand side, should I say. Ball in. Martial gets the ball, then sort of gets tackled, gives it away. But what was good to see is, instead of going, like in the past, it's not uncommon to see Martial kind of, annoyed at his situation rather than trying to do something about it. Whereas today, the ball gets given away, right, goes straight for the man, wins the ball back, knocks it to Bruno. And then that pass from Bruno, I think people are underrating or underplaying how good a pass that is. That's on his weak foot. He's facing away from the pass. Like he's facing basically back towards his own goal. And over his shoulder, as he's turning on his left foot, back through 2 defenders, right into the perfect path for Martial so he can hit it on his left foot. That pass from Bruno was absolutely unreal, wasn't it?
No, it was. And Bruno Fernandes, we were talking about it, me, you and McCullough before the game. Gary Neville's done that thing of sort of praising someone, almost damning him with faint praise. He's given praise and then gone on again about his histrionics and how he don't like it and all that sort of stuff. And I don't care about Bruno moaning and kicking off the referee. Sometimes you need a bit of that anyway. We've got too many players who just let referees just give decisions that are ridiculous, or players kick him all over the pitch and don't say anything. I don't mind Bruno's passion. I think that's part of what makes him such a good player. And we saw today what he brings to this team. I mean, you mentioned it in the watch along. He's never injured.
No.
He plays in almost any position other than defence.
Yeah.
We've seen him almost as the striker. We've seen him on the right, on the left, as the 6, as the 8. The guy just plays every game, nearly all the minutes in every game, and in all sorts of positions.
Can I go just we can see that as we watch, obviously.
Yeah.
But can I just go through a few stats that kind of back up exactly what you're saying there? So Bruno Fernandes today, playing back in his sort of traditional number 10 role, but like you said, dipping in, dipping out. Only Antony had more shots than him today, which I want to get to Antony in a minute. Yeah. Only Antony had more shots than him today. He attempted more passes than anyone. And obviously in that forward position, his pass success rate wasn't quite as good as Lindelof's. Only Lindelof completed more passes than Bruno. Bruno made more attacking third passes than anyone, created more chances than anyone. He also put in more crosses than anyone. He also, crucially, only Harry Maguire, who also had a decent game today, especially second half, only Harry Maguire had more ball recoveries than anyone, than him today. So he's not just is he on the ball phenomenal, off the ball, he's winning the ball back more or as much as anyone for Manchester United. Like, it's unbelievable the amount he gets about, the amount he does, the amount he's just involved in the game. United do not create a chance without Bruno Fernandes having his say on it somehow. It just doesn't happen. We don't win games when he's playing and you go, he was quiet today, he was anonymous today. He's always involved, good or bad. I just think we're so lucky to have a player like him, where even if Antony's not on his form, if Martial's not, if Bruno isn't, if Sancho isn't, if Rashford isn't, you've got a player there who can kind of, with passes like that to Martial, he didn't even score, but we still score because the pass is so good that we're now in this incredibly dangerous area where you almost can't help but put the ball in the back of the net. It's just, honestly, I think we take it for granted because his numbers aren't quite as good as they were in the first couple of years. This last few weeks, especially after the Newcastle game, last 2 or 3 weeks, I think has been as good as we've seen from Bruno in in a couple of years, honestly. I think he's been 9 or 10 out of 10 in 4 or 5 games in a row now. I think he's been fantastic. And I do think we underrate him because, technically he's not getting 25 goals, 20 assists anymore. But performance-wise, that was fantastic today.
It was fantastic, and he's going to be such a miss for the Sevilla game. After that ridiculous yellow card, by the way, that I'm still not over. Yeah. Because I think sometimes you take Bruno for granted, and things. He's one that you can point a finger at when things are going wrong because he always tries to make things happen. But that's the thing with Bruno Fernandes, and he's been praised for it by his manager, and you can see it himself. He might try certain things that don't come off, but a lot of what he does come off.
Yeah.
So when he's trying these things, and 1 or 2, and it's like, oh, why has he done that? Then you'll see the pass, like you say, for the first goal and other passes as well. And I think Bruno benefits massively from having Eriksen there with him as well.
Yeah.
Because he's another player who, we saw it in the past, like when Bruno came in at the side and Pogba was there, how them two could sort of complement each other, and it just helps a little bit because it wasn't all on Paul Pogba to try and make things happen. When Eriksen's there, it's not all on Bruno. It creates a little bit of space for him as well. He can drop deep and not have to worry that someone's not going to cover him, in the attacking third because Eriksen's there. They complement each other so well, especially with Casemiro behind him.
Yeah.
Because that, for me, that midfield, Eriksen, Casemiro and Bruno, I mean, it's just ideal. It really is. And it was great to see Christian Eriksen back in the team. He's doing a bit of a post-match interview, so hopefully I have some quotes from him with his beard.
I've got a couple of quotes from Diogo. Dalot, he said, obviously talking about United's current situation, players get injured, this is football, but everybody is ready. Talking about that goal, which I want to talk about in a second. But before that, can we just have a quick look at matchratings.io, where we go after every Premier League game. You can go over there, join the Stretford Paddock supporters group using the code Stretford_Paddock, get your player ratings in, and we'll go through them in the review. A few sort of standout players, a lot of, 7s and 6.5s and 7s for, Casemiro, Lindelof, Maguire, Wan-Bissaka, De Gea, all kind of in that almost you didn't do enough because we were attacking too much for them to get big ratings. But Fernandes, according to our Stretford Paddock fans, has got an 8.7, only behind Antony with an 8.8 rating, a goal and assist today, and not just any assist. That was brilliant wing play from Antony. On it, much more consistent, driving at his man, looking dangerous. Had more shots than anyone today as well for Man United. Second most attacking third passes, only behind Bruno Fernandes. Involved all the time. For me, that was probably Antony's best performance as a United player.
Easily it was. Yeah, because we've seen Antony in games. We saw it. To be fair, this has been coming. I said earlier, this performance has been coming from a few players, and we saw it with Antony against Sevilla. I thought he did well. Against Everton, I thought he did well. Just the end product wasn't there.
Yeah.
But we, as Erik ten Hag says, he scored goals in the Premier League. He scored against Barcelona. He's not like he doesn't know how to score. We just need to see I think Erik ten Hag himself said we need to see more goals from him, and we saw that today. His end product was fantastic. His skill is there. Obviously, he's quick as well, and he's a player that. He's got so much confidence.
Yeah. He
never ever doesn't want the ball. He never ever doesn't back himself to run at the defender or to try and get a shot off. And you've got to respect that because for a winger, that's what you want. I don't mind if wingers try things and it doesn't come off. What I don't like is when they'll just play a simple pass back constantly.
Yeah.
I hate it when wingers just do that for like 7 or 8 passes and you think that's not your job in the team. Your job in the team is to get at defenders, get in behind and cause problems. And he did that today. And you saw the way he linked up with Martial. You saw the way he linked up with Diogo, Dalot of all people for the second goal.
That pass though was so good when it through.
It was through like through that sort of the old cliche, but through the eye of a needle.
Yeah.
But to be running at pace with the ball
and
almost be crowded and keep going, not lose it, and then pick that pass out. Because I'm not being funny. If I'm going to run like that, I'm going to put my foot through it because I'm thinking this could be the greatest goal ever.
Yeah.
And he didn't. He had that sort of bit of composure to go. There's Dalot's run.
Yeah.
There's the pass. And Dalot, to be fair to the kid. First Premier League goal ever.
Yeah.
What a finish.
I know.
I mean,
took it in his stride well, didn't he?
If Martial or Rashford scores that, we're applauding that finish. And they're strikers or they're attackers.
Yeah.
For a defender who's not exactly renowned for his goal scoring to finish like that, fair play to the kid, and I love this celebration as well. He went all Vote Vegos, didn't he, doing about 10 celebrations.
Got them all in back to back.
Yeah, I love all that.
We've got a few quotes from Eriksen and Ten Hag, but before that, I don't want to accidentally slip past the fact that, again, in terms of best performances, maybe not his best performance because he's had some really great ones, but much better again from Jadon Sancho today. I thought, and unlike him, who often will fade and get substituted, I thought he got better as the game went on today.
So that,
how good is that to see?
Point that out because that's been a worry for me with Sancho. I think with Ten Hag, I think there's only so much credit in the bank you can have with him before he goes, I'm not having a player who can't do 90 minutes for me.
Yeah.
And it does look a lot of the time, like with Sancho, it isn't just taking him off tactics, it's taking him off because he looks knackered.
Yeah.
he kept going today. Now, I will say this with Sancho. We've seen this before. I remember at Ellen Road a couple of seasons ago, he had a game like this where he was fantastic. The thing with him now is just finding that consistency.
Yeah.
And if he can build on this performance, if he can do something in against Sevilla, and he can keep going, we've got some big games coming up, the game against Spurs, the semi-final against Brighton. If he can do this in those games, then it can silence the critics because there is a player there. We saw it at Dortmund and we've seen it in fits and starts at Manchester United. We just need to see it on a more consistent basis. But I think there's a lot of positives that he can take from that game. You have the fullback on toast. He looked like he was getting his swagger back. And like you say, he finished the game stronger than he started. And I don't think I've said that about Jadon Sancho since that game at Leeds, which was, 18 months ago. So, yeah, just a fantastic performance from him as well.
Good, that won it.
And then you're looking at, if you're Forest, you're thinking, Antony's just getting on the ball. Got to get on Antony. Oh, Bruno, got to press Bruno. Yeah. Bruno, Sancho. It felt like United of old, where it's not just stop Marcus Rashford and you stop Manchester United. Yeah. It was literally 4 or 5 players who could get goals, including Dalot.
Do you know what I can't wait for? At some point, someone will say United are better when Rashford don't play.
Yeah,
someone's probably tweeting some absolute a-hole is going to go, let me overthink it. Is
you know what?
Is it
I bet you
that United are actually
today.
Scoring more and conceding less when Rashford doesn't play? He doesn't hog all the ball.
No coincidence. Someone will have tweeted something like that today. No coincidence that United play better without Rashford.
Yeah.
It's like those people that go, City are better without Haaland. It's like...
People just want to be seeing the thing that no one else sees, don't they? We've got a few quotes from Ten Hag. He said the only criticism is that the score should be higher. I would agree with that. He also said you want to score and finish the game and kill in the early moments. That is always important. In big games, you don't create so many chances, so you have to score them. I think Christian Eriksen is not really disadvantaged when he's coming in. He played a brilliant game, which is interesting because that suggests to me that it's, unless he was talking about his fitness there, that like people think that Eriksen isn't as good as Sabitzer, or that he doesn't think that. So he said, I think Christian Eriksen is not really a disadvantage when he's coming in. He played a brilliant game. Does that suggest to you that he thinks that Sabitzer's first choice over Eriksen when they're both fit?
I think he's making a point of that it's not a disadvantage if Eriksen comes in. But it's almost like for like. I think the only sort of reasoning I don't know, but I think the reason he might go to Sabitzer is the kid's just got a brace in Europe. He's obviously on a high. And also, with Eriksen, he's not got many games under his belt over the last few weeks. Sabitzer has, and I just thought he probably thought, right, I've got a player who's on fire. And let's not forget, Erik Ten Hag, if you're playing well, sticks with you. He's not one for dropping players that are playing well. No. Remember when Scott McTominay was keeping Casemiro out of the team?
And rightly so.
Yeah. He's like,
for a few weeks.
Yeah, exactly. We signed Casemiro and he couldn't get a start. Everyone's like, what is he doing here? Yeah. Well, Ten Hag's MO is, if you're playing well, you stay in the team. So I kind of get it. But he's right. Like, it's paper thin margins. For me, if everyone's fit and it's a level playing field, then Eriksen starts over Sabitzer. I don't think he's... But I think it was because Sabitzer had been doing so well and played more games that he was getting a nod. What are people saying in the chats? Have we got any super chats there?
Yeah, we have. Z3 Music Official says the whole team was solid today. Martial looked like he was pushing the pace all game and looked really good. Glad to see we left the poor passing and clearances behind us on Thursday. Here's to top 4. 2 clinking beer glasses. Nicholas Boyle sent a super chat as well. No comment, but thank you for the super chat. Jibak Sahu says, for the great shopper. I don't know how good he is at shopping. For the great shot stopper that De Gea is, it's weird how bad he is on the ball. Every time he has the ball, there's a tense moment. Surely he trains. He does train, clearly. He's got a bit better. Statistically, he has got a bit better, but just not that much better. But I thought he had a decent game today. Didn't have much to do, De Gea, which is obviously a very good thing.
No, I mean, listen, we've criticised De Gea and his distribution, his control in his area in the past. I think today there was a couple of ropey moments, and I still wish he'd open his body up a bit instead of just kicking it the way it comes from, which is like what he does all the time, regardless of how much pressure he's on. Yep. But I'm not going to dig out De Gea today. I thought he did what he needed to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
And there was one ball in particular, actually, we're just talking about distribution. I think it was to Sancho, and it was like a 70-yard pass to Sancho, which was absolutely sublime. Yeah. So I look at that and I think, okay, we've got to give him credit where credit's due, because the one or two big criticisms De Gea are his distribution and commanding his area. And I thought today, commanding his area, he kind of did enough. There was a couple of moments where you think maybe we can do a bit better. He did enough, obviously with Maguire in the team as well. That helps. And I don't think Forest were particularly effective in their set pieces. They got a lot of them, but they didn't do a lot with them. No. And then obviously distribution. Whilst you can say there was a couple of ropey moments, there was also one moment in particular stands out, which was just a fantastic pass, which got us going. So yeah, it was one of those where I said it earlier. I don't think there's any negatives today. No. I don't think I can look at it and go, oh, he didn't turn up, or he had a bit of a stinker, or he needs to work on that. I thought it was a good, solid performance from Manchester United, which really entertained me. I keep going back to that, but it was just nice to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I've been at Verma with the Super Chat as well. I felt Antony, Martial and Sancho were not quite going for the 50-50s enough.
I think
that's not really their game, is it?
It's not. I think there will always be this criticism. I've criticised Sancho myself at Old Trafford a few times, where I think there's a 50-50 or even a 60-40 in his favour, where he won't go for it. He won't really go in there. Yeah. Now, some players just aren't like that, and I think that those three, I don't know. Antony will get stuck in a bit, but they're not renowned for that, and I don't think that's their game, and I think that's okay. You can stomach that if they give you the other things which you expect from them. The things I expect from Martial, Antony and Sancho are getting at defenders, creating chances and scoring goals. Yep. And all three of them did that today. So I'm not going to sort of dig them out for not getting stuck in enough, because they did what they're in the team to do. So that was good enough for me. Make sure you are hitting the like button as well. Let's push. Let's give that likes button a push. Let's get to, I don't know.
1,000.
1,000 likes. Come on, people. Happy days. Top four's looking good. Spurs lost. Newcastle lost. Manchester United won.
I think we've got the league table here as well.
The league table, look at that. I mean, there you go.
Makes for a pretty good reading at the minute, doesn't it? Obviously, top four being the target. What I see
there. Now, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I spoke over you. What I want to see now is what I see us take this level of performance to Sevilla. I know we're going to miss Bruno.
Yeah.
And also, further down the line, in the game against Brighton and in the game against Spurs.
Yeah.
If we play like we did today against those teams, I know Spurs and Brighton are better than Nottingham Forest. I'm not saying they're not. But if we play with that level of energy, intensity and confidence, we'll beat those teams, because we're better than those teams. Yeah. No matter how many injuries we've got, we're still better than Brighton. We're still better than Sevilla. We're still better than Spurs, who've been woeful recently, by the way. So I think if we can keep this going, keep this level of performance, keep the players who are playing well on the ball, getting on the ball, getting, at defenders, then there's every reason to think we can end the season on a high, because, Manchester United is still in for 2 more trophies and a top 4. If we finish the season with, we can dream 3 trophies and top 4. We're laughing.
Ericsson saying we want to go for everything. The league is probably too far, but the rest we want to compete. He also said we want revenge in Seville on Thursday.
I like that word, revenge.
Yeah.
And I think the players are going to be hurting, because to throw away a 2-goal lead, I mean, we're not Arsenal. That's not what we do.
I know.
Do you know what I mean? And to do it in the way we did it was just... I've never seen anything like that, being honest. I was like, what is going on?
2 own goals as well. So there was so much luck involved in that. Come on.
Sevilla's heads had dropped, and then everything just went wrong to the point as well where you're losing arguably your best player this season to a long-term injury as well. So it was just horrific, and I was pretty shocked when I was watching it. But yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not going to moan too much. Manchester United giving ourselves a fighting chance. We owe Sevilla one. Yeah. They've got the sort of record against us, which is frustrating, but now is a perfect opportunity to get rid of that, go over there, get a win, get through to the semi-finals of the Europa League. We're already in the semi-final of the FA Cup. We're already comfortably in the top 4. This could be a very good season for Manchester United.
Before we go, AJ00, hey, this is my first super chat. Thank you very much. Love from the Gambia in West Africa. Do you guys want Dalot or Wan-Bissaka to lead? Because I'm against it. Both are 100. I mean, the more they play, I thought that was one of Dalot's best performances this season.
A left back as well.
I thought it was really good. Yeah. And Wan-Bissaka's been excellent recently. I still think there is a player out there that is an upgrade on both. And I think probably it will come down to who we can get the most money for. Of the other 2 is the one we'll sell. So I think there's
I'm
still room for improvement
on the
there.
fence with it a little bit.
Yeah.
I get your idea, get your argument. We've been linked with Jeremy Frimpong, haven't we? But
yeah.
We'll have to wait and see. But today, I don't want to talk about anyone going. I just want to bask in the glory of that magnificent 2-0 win away at the City Ground. We're looking good for top 4. Manchester United, we're firing on all cylinders. Samba soccer, Joe. That's what we're talking about, yeah.
Excellent
absolutely stuff. Destroying Nottingham Forest the way it should be. Where can people find you?
Joe Smith 93 on Instagram and Twitter.
You know where to find me. Make sure as well you are hitting like, share and subscribe. You'll be hearing from Adam McCall. You'll be hearing from Stephen Alson a bit later on. That's been Joe. I've been Jay. This has been a live review. Manchester United. It's on for Champions League football next season. Thanks for watching.